Hi everyone, and welcome to Hauntora. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is the place where we explore the darkest, most deeply unsettling, true horror stories the internet has to offer. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Genuinely glad you're here. I want to ask you something before we start. Think about the last thing that genuinely scared you. Not jump scare scared, not movie scared. Actually quietly, deeply scared. Most people have to think for a while. After tonight, you won't have to think at all. Links at the top of the description. 2 stories tonight. The first will get under your skin. The second one, I've been avoiding recording for a month because saying it out loud feels like inviting something in. I don't know how else to put that. You'll understand when we get there. Comments open at the end. Tell me what you felt. Lights down. Viewer discretion is advised. 12 years on search and rescue teaches you to read ground the way other people read faces. Compression depth, stride interval, toe drag, edge disturbance. All of it tells you something about the person who made it, how fast they were moving, whether they were tired, whether they were scared. I'm not a tracker in the formal sense, but I've logged enough field hours that the team leads put me on trail work almost every call out. I don't guess. I look and I read and I follow what's actually there. That's what makes this hard to explain. The call came in on a Saturday in early November. Female hiker, 29, reported overdue by her husband when she didn't return from a solo day hike. She was experienced. That's always the detail that changes the math on these things. Inexperienced hikers get turned around. Experienced hikers go down. 4 of us went in on the last confirmed trail section around 7 a.m. Cold morning, ground damp from 2 days of prior rain. Good tracking conditions, actually. The kind of soft earth that holds an impression cleanly. We picked up her boot prints within the first quarter mile. Distinctive tread, narrow heel, consistent stride. She'd been moving at a normal pace, no sign of distress in the gait pattern. We followed. About a mile in, I slowed down. Something in the track pattern was pulling at me, and I couldn't immediately say what. I crouched down and looked at a clear section of trail where the mud held the impressions well, and I studied them for a long moment. Her prints were there, clean, consistent, exactly what we'd been following, and beside each one, a second impression, fainter. But there, I told myself, overlay. Told myself an animal had walked the same path. Deer do it. They're economical, they'll reuse a trail cord, or sometimes the prints stack in ways that look strange. I marked the location in my GPS and kept moving. Half a mile further, I crouched again. The second set wasn't beside hers anymore, it was behind. Same spacing, same interval. Matching her stride length so precisely that if you covered her prints and only looked at the second set, you'd have tracked the same person. I called the team lead over. He looked at it for a long time without saying anything. Then he said, it could be a second hiker following the same path before the rain softened the ground further. Could be. I didn't say anything back. Mathematically, the stride match was too exact. You don't accidentally mirror someone else's gait pattern for half a mile of varied terrain. We kept moving. The tracks continued. Then they stopped. Her prints continued forward into a section of rocky ground where the trail hardened and impressions became difficult to read. Normal, expected. The second set stopped at the mud line. Clean stop, no scuff, no pivot, no exit, just there. And then not there, as if whatever was making them had simply ceased to be at the exact point where the ground stopped recording. I stood at that line for longer than I should have. The trees around us were still. My team was moving ahead. I was looking at the last impression in the second set and doing the only rational thing available, trying to make it mean something that had an explanation attached to it. I couldn't. We found her 40 minutes later, hypothermic, conscious, wedged into a rocky overhang about 200 meters off the trail. She'd slipped on a wet route and gone down a short embankment. Couldn't climb back out. She was coherent. Scared but coherent. She told us she'd been lying there since the previous afternoon. In the debrief, I documented the second track pattern, photographed everything, submitted it with my field notes. The incident report listed the cause as terrain hazard, hiker recovered, no other parties involved. Nobody followed up on the second set of prints. I asked once. Got a non-answer about trail contamination and wildlife activity. She made a full recovery. I visited her in the hospital, which we sometimes do on the longer searches. She seemed fine, grateful, normal. I almost didn't ask her, but I did. I asked if she'd seen or heard anyone else on the trail before she went down. She looked at me for a second, then she said, "No, but for the last hour before I fell, I had the feeling something was walking right behind me." I wrote it down. I didn't know what else to do with it. I still don't. 11 years behind a wheel teaches you to trust what's measurable. Fuel levels, road grades, weather windows. I don't do superstition. Never saw the point. My father drove long haul before me, and his philosophy was simple. The road doesn't care what you believe, so believe in your truck and your schedule and nothing else. I ran a mountain route through the Appalachians every Tuesday and Friday night. For about 4 years, 2-lane road, no shoulders worth mentioning, tree line that pressed right up to the guardrail, on the eastern side like it was trying to reclaim the asphalt. I knew every curve of it, knew where the deer crossed, where the fog pooled, which sections turned to black ice first in November. I knew mile marker 9. First time I noticed something there, it was spring. A small bundle at the base of the post, some cloth, what looked like dried food of some kind, a few coins stacked neat. I figured it was a roadside memorial, accident site. People leave things. I didn't think about it past that. Except there was no cross, no name, no flowers, and it was different the next week. Same spot, same careful placement, but different items. This time, a corked glass bottle with something dark inside, a folded piece of paper, and what was clearly a small amount of cash, held flat under a piece of quartz. I started watching it the way you watch something that doesn't add up. Not obsessively, just noting it each pass. What got to me wasn't that it was there. It was that nothing touched it. That stretch had raccoons, crows, black bears moving through seasonal. Whatever was left at that post sat undisturbed until the following week's offering replaced it. 4 years in, my fuel pump failed at 12:15 a.m. on a Friday. Right at marker 9, I got the rig onto the gravel, what little there was of it, and called it in. Sat with the engine ticking as it cooled and the hazards throwing orange light against the tree line. There was something at the marker post, a bundle wrapped in burlap, a small jar, 3 folded bills under a flat stone. The forest was wrong, not dark. Dark, I know, wrong. The specific wrongness of a place that has stopped making its usual sounds mid-sentence. No insects, no wind shift in the canopy, the kind of silence that has texture. Then, from somewhere inside the tree line, maybe 30 feet in, something moved. Not fast, not toward me, just a slow, heavy repositioning. Something large, adjusting its weight, then settling, still there, just back. I kept my eyes on the tree line for 41 minutes, until the service truck's headlights came around the bend. I didn't get out of the cab once. I asked an older driver about that marker a week later. Casual, like it was nothing. He didn't treat it like nothing. He said he didn't know who started leaving the offerings or how long it had been going on. Said the rule, as he understood it, was simple. Somebody keeps leaving them. Whatever's back in those trees stays back in those trees. I asked what happens if someone stops. He picked up his coffee and looked out the diner window. Nobody's been stupid enough to find out. I still run mountain routes. Different road now, different marker numbers. But some Tuesdays when it's late and the tree line is close and the road goes quiet in that specific way, I think about whoever's still making that drive, and I hope they never miss a week.